Okay, so this afternoon's workshop is called Your Users Deserve the Best, Let Them Have It. So that's what we're going to talk to you about. And hopefully the title makes sense now. If it doesn't, I guarantee it will make sense at the end. So a couple of things just to start us off. So, hello. Next thing, so this is going to be a very hands-on session. So this is not a session sitting there with your laptop taking notes. You're going to be actually forming teams. You're going to be getting pens and paper and actually working through some of the processes that myself and Tamara use in our everyday life designing products at Google. So if you're expecting to hear how to use the latest Photoshop filters, I'm afraid you're in the wrong place. But you will be getting pretty busy with pens and paper and having a good time as well. Okay, so just a brief introduction to us. So, Tamara, why don't you go first?
Okay, I'm Tamara, user experience researcher at Google. I'm based in Switzerland. أنا بحكي عربي وإنجليزي. I'll be interchanging between the two. You prefer English, Arabic, both? You're fine with both? Okay. I work for the emerging markets team, which means we cover most countries except Europe and United States and some other countries. That's me.
Okay, hi, I'm Benedict Davis. I'm a user experience designer. You can just call me Ben, don't worry about the whole Benedict thing. So I'm based in the London office. I've worked for Google for about 6 years now. I also am part of the emerging markets team with Tamara. But previously I've worked on things like Google Search and YouTube and Google Voice. So I've always worked in the mobile area, but on quite a lot of different areas within Google. Okay. So just before we talk about the agenda, one thing I just want to say is we're really short of time this afternoon. We only have 2 hours, and we've got lots of stuff we'd like to take you through. And I think you're going to enjoy it, but we're going to have to drive at quite a hard pace. So please, play along with us whenever you can.
Okay. So as Ben said, we're going to be forming groups, doing some activities. So please try to help us to keep everything on time. Otherwise, we will really run extra. So what are we going to do today? So the agenda is to kind of get an idea about how to understand your users. We will get a bit dirty in a way using these things to try to transform these things that we understood about users into these using pen and papers. So please, this is a closed laptop workshop. And after we have something sketched into the basics with stickies and old school style style thing, we will be doing some user testing to try to get some feedback, and then we build on what we've learned. So this is pretty much the idea of the workshop. But again, this is all using old style مكتبة اللوازم المدرسية way. That's all. Okay. So as I said, we're going to be forming groups. Before I start doing my very non-democratic way that I do by forming groups, is there anyone here that strongly disagree and wants to work with someone that they came along with? Because we're going to be working with people who you've never met. Is there someone who's like, usually I get some 2 friends who's like, no, please, we can't work together, please keep us. I won't let you cry. It's like, that's fine, you can stay. Anyone else has any objections? No? Okay, so we have around 40 people in here.
Yeah, I guess about.
We do 7 groups.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start with my favorite thing. You remember the number that I'm going to say. So literally don't take it, I know we Arabs, when we point at someone, it's not nice. But please take it, in a more democratic way. When I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the ones will come here, the twos will come there, and then we form the group really quickly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, واحد اثنين hello ثلاثة no okay ثلاثة أربعة خمسة ستة سبعة واحد اثنين ثلاثة أربعة خمسة ستة سبعة واحد اثنين ثلاثة أربعة خمسة ستة سبعة ستة خمسة 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 ستة سبعة واحد اثنين ثلاثة أربعة خمسة ستة سبعة okay and the things that we're going to be doing in the second hour, building on the first hour. So if you decide to be in, then you're in. If you decide to be out, unfortunately, it's not possible to get you in again in the second hour. Okay? Let's make the user Please help me not to shout. I hate using microphones. And I decided to speak. So please help me and help them.
Okay, sorry for the brief delay. We're now back with the projector. Okay, thanks very much for forming teams so quickly. We really appreciate your cooperation. So just before we move on, a couple of quick questions. So who here in the room is a designer? Wow, how's the designers? Who here is a developer? Who here is something else?
Any students?
Okay.
Masters, PhD, undergrad? Undergraduate, okay.
Okay, great. And how many of the designers here would consider themselves user experience designers? Okay, okay, great, brilliant. Okay, so for the user experience designers out there, this may be familiar, so please bear with me, but hopefully it'll kind of help everyone else generally. So design life cycle is something that me and Tamara deal with the whole time. We're not going to try and cover the whole of it today, it'd be way too complicated. So we're just going to try and focus in on a few things to give people an experience about the kind of design you can do based on understanding more about your users. But just to set it in context first, I just want to talk a little briefly about what the proper design process would be. So the way that design evolves at Google and at many other companies is that we will start off with an initial brief, so we'll start understanding what the problem is we're trying to address. We'll then go into a heavy research phase where we'll try and find out as much as possible about that problem. So every kind of nuance, everything we can understand about the situation to try and inform our thinking. We'll then go into this kind of loop iterative phase where we go through design, build, and test. And so we'll take the research we get, we'll try and understand what that research is telling us about what the user needs are and how we can best address those user needs. We'll then build something, and the building could be really simple. It could just be doing some paper sketching. You could be building an interactive, clickable prototype. It could be actually building something that's production ready to go live. And then we'll test that. So we'll do the kind of testing where we go out and actually find real users that would be the people that would use this stuff in the end circumstance, and understand whether or not we've designed and built the right thing, and understand whether or not it needs further work. And we'll keep on running around that circle of design, build, test, until we feel we've got a product that really is suiting the needs of the users. We should go back to this initial research we did. So we're always validating back against that research. And then hopefully, before too long, we hit that magical moment when we actually launch something. So that's the kind of total picture of where user experience design fits together. So it would take weeks to try and get through that. So we've devised this coming plan this afternoon where we're just going to look at a few areas of it to give you an overview. Okay, so the first thing you need, if you're going to do a bit of design, is you need a brief. So teams out here, this is your brief for this afternoon. So this is what you're going to be doing a little bit of work on. You're going to do some understanding about what the users need. You're going to do a bit of quick design work, some simple sketching, and then you're going to do some very nice, quick and easy user testing at the end. So your brief, Gamma, they're a mobile telephony operator. Nothing like any other telephony operator you may have thought of with a similar name. So what their plan is, they're going to offer a mobile app that helps visitors to Beirut to discover the best places for sightseeing, eating, and shopping. And there's going to be no data charges, so they're going to give this app to people for free. So you don't need to worry about whether or not it's going to be expensive to use. Anyone that has the app on their phone will be able to use it for free. So your job this afternoon is to design that app. Okay, who's excited about this design?
مين هو مش لبناني؟
Come on, somebody you must be excited.
مش لبناني؟ في كل لبنانيين؟ Okay.
That's good enough.
Okay. Right. The main reason why I asked who's Lebanese and who's not, because sometimes it gets really hard for someone who is really involved to design something for, something that it could be considered to be a user to it somehow. So the people who are not from Lebanon are considered to be some sort of, they are users, and you people will have more difficult time trying to separate yourself from ending up designing for yourself rather than designing for your users. So what's the big deal? Why the users? So night and day at Google and other companies that are focused on designing for the users, me and Ben get involved in lots of activities, trying to step back as someone who is a user experience expert and trying to design for the person who is going to end up designing, using that application. So in every single beginning when you want to design an app, and again, linking back to the design brief, you want to design an app that helps a foreigner explore Beirut like myself or anything else. So you start thinking, so what do I know about these users? What are their needs? So putting the user first and everything else will follow. What do they need to know? What you as a designer need to know about your users before jumping into the idea of, oh, I need to have an icon in here and I need to have a search bar in here. Ask yourself, what can you find out about your user's current behavior? So when that poor person comes into airport and wants to get to Basel, what does that person want? What does that person need? It's pretty much about putting yourself into the shoes of that person, and then you try to understand what their needs, and once you understand that needs, designing for these needs would be a piece of cake. And again, you try to ask yourself, how can you make a difference for them? It's not just about baking an app and put it in the store, and then they will deal with it, and they will end up just dumping it out. So the more you can know about your users and you understand the needs, the better your application will be. And this is what we are going to try to do today. So next. So as I said, you want to start by thinking about your user. And for me as a researcher, I always enjoy this part. So we do this using different methods and it's really endless. I can't really go on and on about how we understand it. But just to give you little examples how you can do that, you can literally interview your potential users, and you do semi-structured interviews in real life. That would be like 12 users, 10 users. You do intensive 2.5 hours, and you almost know every single thing about your user regarding your topic. And for example, you can also do data analysis, as in what you already know and you've already digested from your system, like data logs, like login information from the server, what the behavior. That's pretty much passive, as in users have already been doing it. You collected it anonymously, and you can actually try to analyze it in a way that you understand something from it at least. Or there is another way, competitor evaluation, and this is pretty much on a bigger scale, where you try to understand what other people are already doing in the market, and doing competitor analysis, just a standard one. You try to understand what your competitors outside and try to identify what the gaps in there and what you understand about the current behavior of the users of these competitors in the market. Or you can do feedback. You can get some data, understand user from feedback from forums and user forums, which means that is pretty much inactive. So this is pretty much getting some data using surveys that you go and ask your user about some feedback that you want, and you kind of try to understand, okay, so these people need X, Y, Z from a survey. Or for example, you have a user forum, where people can give you feedback. So you see, it's a lot of forms of how you try to understand your users, and some of them are passive, some of them are active, and it really depends on how, which level you are and in which stage you are in the cycle. I'm not going to get into details. But today, we're going to focus on only one part of it, which is interviews. No, you're not going to be doing user interviews. I'm not going to go to the street and grab users in there for the shortest time. But we have already conducted an interview for you, and you will be taking whatever has been said in that interview, trying to get some requirements from it. But just before I get you into the hypothetical, scenario of, go and you chat to the user and you try to understand the requirements, believe me, it's not that easy. Because it's always hard to try to get what the user needs when you talk to him, because people don't know what they need. They might have a problem. They might keep going, talking over and over and over about things, but they don't really realize that their problem is an X, and you as a designer can solve it by doing Y. Okay? So in interviews, it's, you always need to keep in mind that you as a researcher, you're here to listen rather than talking. You are, here to ask open-ended questions, and you can't believe how many times if you can ask questions and the user will be like, so how do you do this? Do you do that? They would be like, yes, and they would just stop talking. So you will need to have that skill of trying to get people to open up and talking to you. You need to explore opportunities, you need to listen, you need to make good notes, and you try to capture every single thing that has been said, of course, beside recording and everything. This is in real life, again, we can't do this in this small room now, but we will get into the fun part of showing you an already done example of an interview of a potential user for the app that you're going to be designing today. Okay? It's literally what we call a verbatim transcript. So it's literally someone is listening to the video of the interview, saying every single thing in there on a piece of paper, then it's kindly now distributing it. What you need to be doing is you go through this as a group and you try to identify from the very long conversation what sort of points and things you can learn as a designer from that script. And write this on a piece of a sticky note. I'll be distributing some to you now. So, and again remember, this is very hypothetical. In real life, you will end up with, like at least 12 users. You try to analyze each user, and then you try to do what we call cross-user analysis, where you try to identify needs across users. And then afterwards, you try to convert what you've learned from these users into meaningful user requirements. So today we don't have the time, again, so we will just be doing one user, one small user, and you'll be done. We don't need to spend hours and hours like I do analyzing things. Does everyone have a script? Okay? So literally this is what we call, going through scripts and trying to get some clues, trying to understand what's in there, what's really occurring, what's really being repeated. How can you kind of summarize this big conversation into something really meaningful for you as a designer? What is the main takeaways from these? And this is what we call trying to get going, guys. What's stopping you? We don't have the time. Have a look at the script. So there's a part of it in here.
Can we have more copies of this?
So don't treat something that's really complete on a final 2 minutes. Remember, try to forget all about what. Okay, 10 seconds. Very swift 10 seconds. Okay, so guys, may I have your attention? Please. Okay. So now we went through something that's, you go through the interview and then you try to identify and try to summarize what's in there, what's in there. And again, in real life, that would be across different interviews. And this is a tiny thing. This was about 15-minute transcript. So now you, as a group, while I talk, try to review all the beautiful sticky notes all that mess that's happening in your table, okay? And try to group them into groups that make sense. So if it's something, about group them and there's something else saying, finding a way around it. Okay? Try to group them, try to see the similar ones. If some people in the same group notice the same thing, then just, get rid of the sticky that's duplicate. Just try to find the others. You might want to write it on a paper. خلاص ما تخسروا بعض يا جماعة. Don't just one few seconds of silence would be great. Thank you. Okay, so we all have something happening on our table, right? So tell me what you came up with. Pick two. You see how difficult it is to shut up? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So you guys are ركن بعيد هذه اللاعبين عن what did you come up with? One thing. Okay. Sounds familiar from the script. I know it's in the script, and if you come up with something that's like Ben wants to go to this place, I know this is not a requirement from the script, right? So what did you come up with? Quick, very quick.
Sort of guides for every case, prices, just running prices.
Okay, what did you? Okay. What was under that? What did Ben say to imply this? That you wanted this?
Getting lost, he wasn't getting on time for cases.
Okay.
Basically, he needed to check the tool before going in, before using the guide. So if you think about it, it's like if he's walking in the museum, he's got like pictures and comments about based on the location of like a virtual tool with a map.
Okay. Another feature?
Another feature, guys. Data analysis from Foursquare and all these stuff. Like if he checked in at venues, we'll show him similar stuff, similar
Okay.
venue types.
Okay. But that's great. You're getting into requirements, but you're kind of stepping ahead a little bit because we needed to group what Ben wanted and then convert it to requirements, which is great. You've done that. But there's a difference between trying to understand what the user wants and then the next step is trying to see how you as a developer want to solve it. Okay? Great. So, or even if it's still in the form of a Ben needs this, Ben needs that. Offline map. Okay? So each group have at least 3-4 ideas of these? We're on the same page? Yes? Cool.
Okay, so you've done the hard work, you've done some requirements gathering, you've done some data analysis, you've tried to understand what the user needs, you've put some sticky notes together. Now comes the fun time. You take what you've learned, you take all those things on sticky notes, and you start trying to sketch them out into an interface to try and understand which bit's the most important, so like what should be top of the page, what's the first thing the user sees, which things are less important, what's the order of things, how big should they be, what's the kind of main gist of your product? Is your product about the direction finding I heard someone talk about? Is it about the social interconnections? Now's the time to start trying to bring all those together and just really roughly sketch this out. So normally in a design process, you go through many stages of design. So you do kind of really rough sketches, which is what we're going to do next. Then you do wireframing, so that's much more precise when you actually understand the exact interaction flow, like pressing the one button takes you somewhere else and the implications of that. And then you move on to things like prototyping, so building mocks that you can actually click through and understand a little bit more about timings of animation and stuff like that. And then you move on to high fidelity designs where you get out Photoshop or Fireworks, whatever your tool of choice to actually start, working on things like the precise color palette you use or the iconography you're going to use. And then you start rolling that back into the prototypes as you end up with something that is basically a beta product. It's as if it is the real product. Everything looks the way it should do, but you haven't yet fully launched it. Anyway, those are all the stages you go through. Obviously, we don't have time for that today. What we do have time for is some sketching, which is good because sketching is the best bit, funnily enough. Okay, so I'm going to take my jacket off because sketching is such good fun. You don't want to do it with your jacket off.
We're such as fun as well. Come on.
Yeah, okay, it's all fun. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get you all to start sketching out an interface for your mobile product. If you like, sometimes it's useful just to kind of help you understand how much space there is. But if you want to go bigger, that's fine. We've got big A0 sheets of paper here, we've got A3. There are no rules, there are no constraints. You can sketch it however you want. You can have things that you rip out from pieces of paper and staple together. You can use sellotape and you can draw it all on one piece of paper. I don't mind. What you're trying to do is come across a way of communicating your design in the most effective way possible. So it's fine. Go with whatever you like. Okay, so we don't have very long today, so let's think about it. Really think about what the core part of your product is that you're trying to build. Hold on, guys. Come on, just pay attention for one more minute, and then you'll get more out of this. Okay, so think about what it is. And last of all, have fun. This is enjoyable. Okay, so there are many ways of doing sketching. I'm just putting this up here as an example. Right? You can just do really rough things like I can't draw it. I'll put my hands up. I can't draw it. It doesn't matter. Right? It's not about being able to draw really beautifully. It's just about communicating the idea. So, just simple blocks, rectangles. Just write in the word if you need to be the word there. But don't get caught up if you think you're not the next Picasso. Here's an example of a really simple mobile design. You can see all it is just simple lines filled in, bit of shading here and there, just to kind of show what's happening on the interface. So that's the kind of level I'd like you to aim for. Ready? Go. So, yeah, so one more thing. So there are pens, papers, sellotape, everything here. Come and grab whatever you
So
think.
guys, can we get organized just for that? Pick 2 people maximum per group because you're taking time that all of you will come and keep the different back. Pick 1 or 2 people from yours and do some shopping for materials. Oh, you did your shopping already.
flipping your phone like that, the camera will open, and you will have to see around you and see the information of the restaurant, for example, what's the opening time and stuff like that. You switch it back, and the map opens again. One last thing. Yeah, of course, we have a profile, opening, closing hours, and great views of the location. That's more like it. Like Simon said, he mentioned a few things that we have also.
Okay, very good. So, two questions. What's the best thing about what you've designed, and what's the thing that needs most work?
The best thing in our design is this intuitive feeling. When you switch it like that, you will have the augmented reality thing that opens up, that shows you everything around you. Okay? And the other cool feature that I forgot to mention is the scheduler. It traces your route. It tells you how to go and how to find your ways.
Okay, and what's the thing that needs work to improve your app? Nothing, it's perfect already.
It's ready to be launched.
Oh yeah, it's Team X from the X Lab.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next team, please. Team in the back there, please.
No, actually, they're
That's good, yeah.
Hello.
Tag team.
I'm Jessie. This is Asad. Our application name is Hello Beirut. Since we have a lot of programmers, so this is Hello Beirut. Anyway, what we wanted to do with our app is like straight to the point, go into straight categories to the user so he doesn't get confused. So once he opens the app, he directly has the categories. We have food, entertainment, hotels, tourism, shopping, and highlighted events or location or anything could be highlighted from the app, as well as a small bar down there with social map and schedule or notes. So if you're on a business trip, you can add notes. You can have your whole schedule when you have a meeting, when you have a lunch with someone, or just like things that you want to see at a certain location. So I just want Asad to explain more about the search.
All right. So in general, search is, the app is much more to explore. But if you want to like quickly search for an Italian restaurant which is in Lebanon, you can just type in Italian restaurants and all the Italian restaurants listing comes up. Now, if you want to just find Italian restaurants in solitaire area, you type in solitaire over there. And this search is pretty powerful because even if you misspell, it still brings up Italian restaurants. If you even misspell solitaire, the system recognizes with the similarity of the words, like suffix terminology, it brings up solitaire in that form of way. The rest of it,
I'll just continue. So if you click on food, for example, you still have the logo, the search, and the social map note part always on your screen, as well as you have the top 10 reviews, ratings. You have the listing of restaurants. You can choose either based on alphabetical order or highest rated. We have like restaurants. There's two filtering types: cuisine or restaurant nearby. So you can, like, actually, if it's in the street, you can directly find somewhere nearby them. Once you click on a restaurant, you get a small image just to see the mood of the restaurant. You can call directly. You can see their menu, its ratings, the locations, and you can add it to the schedule. If you want to check it out later, you can add it to your schedule and direct it as. Okay, then you have, of course, a description, the ratings, the cost, average cost of the restaurant there. So,
on the design-friendly part of it, the app is kind of Google Current style app because it shows the main features on the front page with a small description and title, just to make it friendly with the users because that's what they're getting to Android. In the front page, you do have a login info in case the user wants to add have nearby locations, like everyone has. The agenda, transportations, because public transportations are kind of a mass in Beirut, so they might want to call taxis and stuff. Restaurants and suggested places that we have based on his favorite places. Okay. The second thing is when you go into one part of the app, which shows restaurants here, you can actually filter through a slider by cuisine, price range, location, etc. Just because the user doesn't have a clue about what Beirut is, so we give him a simple view to filter the information he needs. We offer him, of course, a random or recommendation card, and he can pick up the stuff he needs. Once you go in, you will get to the same overview like the front page with the names of the restaurant, the distance to get to the restaurants, it's 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and a filtering option to get the fastest way possible. The agenda thing is kind of messy because it has too much info, but we try to simplify it as much as possible. We added the time, we added the filters by interest, by transportation, by budget, and suggestions. And once you get, I kept listed the hand, once you get to one kind of a restaurant or a museum or whatever, we show them many possibilities. The name, the picture, of course, add favorites or add to maps. We added the rating, main descriptions, and user's view overview. We add the map to get there, the price, the menu, and the possibility to translate the menu by augmented reality thing. It's a developer, I don't know if it's feasible, but I think it can work. When you scan the menu, it can translate the Lebanese terms like tabbouleh, tabouche, or whatever, to what kind of ingredients it has, since it was a hassle for the guy. And another thing is that because of Samsung products, the new ones, you can add a picture and write a note on it, so you can upload your pictures, the pictures you have, onto the location you already saved into Beirut. So it's kind of integrated with all the parts of the phone.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so 2 questions. What's the best thing, and what's the thing that needs most work?
And the best thing is that we tried to integrate the app with most of the functionalities of the phone. The camera, the augmented reality, the pictures you see, the calendar, everything. The stuff that needs to be worked on is that, as mentioned by the previous spokesperson, there are too many info and one single app to maintain them all. We need to filter by priorities.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, next thing, please. So just while this guy's going to front, it's really interesting the fact that a lot of people are coming up with the same issue, like having all these filters and selection mechanisms. They're great, but it's really hard to design one that is powerful without being too confusing to people. And it's a big challenge in mobile generally, how to give people the right amount of control without overwhelming them. Sorry, anyway, it's your turn.
You finished? Right, so I mean, I can answer your second question at the start. The thing that needs the most work is we've actually got 3 home pages for the app. That's the thing that needs the most work. Kind of a bit of rebellion. So one of them, I mean, they follow a pretty similar pattern. One of them is really interesting. It's got very activity-based home screen. So how do I get to, I'm going to want to check in. It's very much what do I want to do right now oriented. And the idea of then filtering by places or events or transportation things instead. That's my horrible scrolling. My idea was, again, you go into the app and it would just give you a list of things or places that are either randomized or highlighted or based on any information you've given the app previously. But a random-ish selection of things like time-based, location-based, and so on. And then you'd then be able to filter by type. Another idea for the homepage was very much to have the categories at the top level. So you need to click to see any museums, you need to tap something so that it will filter by whatever you want. Before I get onto the best of it, one of the things I thought about was also a settings page, which was again mentioned I think in one of the first ideas was about setting your arrival date and your departure date. We were thinking that as an optional extra, that it will just add to the ways that the app is filtering data for you, but doesn't want to get in your way of making you do that. And then this is also
by Lebanon. This is already, by the way, largely patented and trademarked, and we're doing user testing. We're going live soon, so it's already seen. So the first page wanted to be like a map that shows highlights of a number of things happening in Lebanon. And so we just kind of focused on Lebanon, not just Beirut. So it's similar, but a bit different scale with that. The three main things that this does is around my map, things to do, and suggested routes. So my map is this whole section where we're talking about where you can select things based on your interests, the things you tag, you highlight, etc. And you come up with your own customized maps of the places that you want to visit. Things to do, a longer list of just kind of options of things that you find. But then you can also star and have them add to my map. And like it said in the brief that Ben had wanted to take notes and things that he found out, so you can add your own stuff here of the events or dinner party with friends or something like that. But then also here the last one is suggested routes. And so you can, from the filtering, it said that you have 1 day, 3 days. You go through to select the different interests you have, whether nightlife, historical, art design, etc. And then you get a number of suggested routes of places that you go visit. Also by geography, you can filter it. And so then this will kind of give you highlights of what you can do in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. And these are things that are submitted by us, but also by users, by other groups, etc. To help people kind of filter and come up with some key ideas of that. On the general page of events, I don't know if that's easier to read live or not, but on the general page here of listings, there's also this idea of it's just going to show up with a whole bunch of things. In general, about stuff happening in Lebanon, but then you can go through and start filtering by cost, by interest, by location, by ratings, and so you start getting narrowed down to the things that you'd be interested in, and then thinking how you can add your own add to your map, etc. In terms of the different suggested routes, this is scratch. I hope you guys don't realize it's not a finished version, but by district, by Hamra, by Jemaisi, and then you can narrow down that as well. And then in terms of the filtering, we wanted to figure out how to have a bunch of really cool filtering, but also make it quite simple. So sometimes that's kind of hidden in the back end that you can select in your profile, etc. Sometimes it's in the interface, but like I said, price, time of day, user ratings, location, length of your visit, etc. And then the actual page here of a particular event has the basic info about it.
Okay, brilliant. So, before we go, one or two questions. So,
yeah.
What's the best thing? What's the thing that needs most work?
So the best things that we thought were how there's a lot of general information, but you can really narrow it down to your specific itinerary, your specific plan, to help guide your visit in a way that's really customized for you. The most difficult thing in terms of getting the suggested routes that are high quality, things that we're creating, things that users are also contributing, so that people who go on them really do have a high quality visit in their brief tour.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, I did. I told you.
Yeah.
It was this.
Yes. It's the beautiful design that's the best bit. Okay, is that everyone's gone, yeah? Yeah, there's no team that hasn't had a go. Brilliant. Okay, well listen, first of all, I want to say thank you very much to everyone for your work on this, because it's been really brilliant. You should give yourself a round of applause. Okay, we're going to have a chance to talk about user testing, but it's important that tomorrow's going to just run us through a few points around testing.
Yeah, just a few reminders. I mean, we don't have the time. This is a small experiment that we've been running. So keep in mind that this is just the first start and the first step. Ideally, once you have something that you can actually communicate with someone who was not involved in your group, you can go and kind of do a very brief user testing. As in, you get someone who is a potential user, you have a look at it, and then you see what makes sense to him, what doesn't make sense, how is he going to kind of, understand from it. Because you've been staring at this for, in real life for months, maybe, or for weeks, and then you kind of get really absorbed into it and attached to it, and you don't really know whether it makes sense or not. So that's what we do kind of in user testing, and then afterwards you try to get some feedback from this, and you reiterate, and you try to improve your design, and then maybe you go back again and do user testing, and afterwards maybe you start doing really simple computer-based prototypes, or wherever the next level would be, and then you go again and you do user testing, and that's our whole story. That's how we do things. So we don't have the time to do it now. We had the plan to do it, but we run out of time. But just keep that in mind. This is just the beginning, and it's never like, oh, we're going to launch it tomorrow and have it. That's the way it was. That's why the question is like, what needs believe me, once you get a user sitting and trying to have a look, you will be amazed at the things that it makes sense. And then you will need to address it if you really put the user first. So that's one thing. The second thing is, again, because this is a small experiment, we based that whole design thing on one user, one script, and this is absolutely not in the ideal life. So usually, as I said, but I just need to repeat it, you will ideally interview like 10, 12 people, or depends on the context, and then afterwards you do cross, and then you only take the things that actually emerged from most users or more than one users, and you don't just end up designing for one person. And for someone like Google, you need to end up designing for lots of people. So just keep that in mind again, because I had lots of questions about should I design for Ben or should I design for the power user or should I design? We do take this into consideration as well. So when you go ahead and you try with the user in real life, once you leave this room, just keep in mind that this was just an experiment based on one or two or three people. On real life, it's never the situation. What? So yeah, so that the plan was to do this testing, and you kind of get the user to do what we call a think aloud, as in take this and try to tell me what's happening in your head. It's really weird when you do it as a researcher, but you try to get people to talk as I'm looking for a search thing, but I can't find it, and you try to learn from what people have done. That's all from my side as in user testing, and that's all what we could cover in these 2 hours. It's really tough, but I'm really hoping that you got something out of this. And we just need to get a discussion going in a way where, what's your thoughts? What do you think? What do you? You never get this silent throughout the whole 2 hours.
I think it's very difficult to avoid thinking about the solution. I think that's a real discipline for a lot of people, particularly if you are a developer, if you've ever been involved in things like that. It's very quick to jump to this is how we're going to deal with the problem, rather than really in a rounded way understanding what the problem is. And opening yourself up to completely different ways that you might tackle that.
There's 2 big dangers. One, that one, and the second one is that people assume that they're the user. So we often see this where you get very keen, committed engineers, they're building the software, and it's like, no, I know exactly how it should be. And they base it around their life, and it's not necessarily anyone else's life. So anyone interested in trying to do this kind of stuff we've been doing this afternoon, whether it be design or research, is to be able to stand back from your own point of view and try and think about what would this mean to somebody else. It may seem really obvious to me. I may want that button in the top corner, but is that really just what I want, or what generally people would want? Being able to step back and have that perspective.
Yeah, I think in a kind of deeper way even than messaging around button placement, but sort of like, how deeply do I need to use this application we've built to get around Beirut, or how casually should I be able to use it, or what level? It's those kind of questions that are very hard to not to keep yourself open-minded about.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other question that I had, and when doing something like that, I mean, sometimes during the process, as a person who's building something like this or designing, probably I'm looking at it from my own personal perspective, but still, I mean, sometimes I might think that actually everyone should be thinking about it this way, and I know they might not necessarily think about it that way, but they should change. I know that according to this could be a problem. I mean, when someone is trying to build something, but I mean, is there any way to get around that, or just have to go that way specifically?
What do you mean as going?
I think if you're doing it consciously and knowing that you're saying, I've made that choice for a reason, it's fine. But it's doing that by default, without at least being a bit open-minded about that.
It's just you have to keep in mind when you have a design, for every single decision and thing that you have, there is a reason behind it, and not just because you're a designer, you like that thing to be there. All of them need to be backed up with user data.
Yeah, that's the thing. But what I'm saying, if it's not backed up by user data, I mean, user data says that people don't usually use it this way. But I think that people should be using it this way.
So there's a limit to how
For example,
far.
a simple button or
There's a
something
limit to how far you can kind of try and push things in one direction. A lot of that, I mean, this is Google product development is that we will do research and we will try and understand as best we can about what a product should be or how it should behave, and we will launch it, and then we will actually find out more things about it. So the design process is never finished, even after you've launched. We're constantly looking at stuff, examining the usage statistics, doing research around it. Because quite often things launch and then they get used in a way you never anticipated. So it's very unlikely you can push the user into doing something if it feels wrong and unintuitive to them. But if you put it out there, you may well find that something you anticipated actually becomes a mainstream behavior. And it's being able to be on top of that and spot that behavior is happening. And then think about, well, does my design really solve that problem? Can I make my design a little bit different to really help the user? Because actually, although I expected them to do one thing, they're doing something else. Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time. I don't want to keep you guys from coffee, so we'll call it a wrap here. Thanks so much again for all your time and attention. I know it's been 2 hours, it's been really kind of breakneck speed, but I hope that it's helped you understand a little bit about the kind of process of design we go through, the basis of understanding a little bit about your users, a bit about trying to communicate those on the kind of basic sketch interface, and then doing some testing to try and understand how close you are. I know we haven't had any time for questions, so me and Tamara around, just come and grab us, we're happy to chat. And thanks again for both of us.
Thanks so much.